Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So if you haven't seen the last video, make sure to go check it out. That's where I discussed 10 NHL forwards that are having very strong and somewhat surprising seasons. And this video I'm going to talk about something a bit similar, but now I'm going to discuss NHL defensemen. And in particular, I'm going to be talking about, without even really meaning to, just younger defensemen. Ones that haven't really broke out into the NHL yet, but are having essentially breakout seasons, or at least career seasons for their standards, and aren't necessarily gaining the recognition that I feel they rightfully deserve. So yeah, this is all examined from the eye test, looking at certain analytics, other types of advanced statistics, etc., and not really trying to focus as much on their team's success, but as much of their personal success as possible. And these are just 10 guys that have stood out to me. Doesn't mean that they are necessarily the 10 best. This is just my opinion, and yeah. So with that being said, first on the list of the 10 I have, he's from the Colorado Avalanche, and it could be easy to pick numerous players from the Avalanche. One thing that I do want to make clear, though, is that I decided not to pick really any defensemen that are either well-known already or were very high draft picks, because that kind of defeats the purpose of this kind of video, because I'm going to be talking about players that were either drafted in the later rounds or not drafted at all, which makes it even more surprising for their success. So, because I don't really view say a rookie that's dominating, like Cale Makar could come to mind. He's having a phenomenal rookie season since up until he got hurt, but he was drafted really high in the first round a couple years ago, so there's a lot expected of him. These are more guys that had very low potential and are exceeding all personal feats that they could have possibly had, and probably exceeding most that any fan of their teams or people in management would have expected. So, with that being said, for the Colorado Avalanche, my pick is Ryan Graves. This one might not come as too much of a surprise, considering Ryan Graves currently leads the league in plus minus with 22. And one other thing I want to touch on in regards to plus minus, I think it is somewhat of an important stat, but I don't think it is as coveted as many other stats. And my reasoning for that is the fact that your plus minus can be differentiated on so many different things, and I really don't think that it should be recognized a lot, especially with players that are on terrible teams overall, where plenty of times they could just be on the ice, not even doing anything wrong, and a goal is scored against their team, so that way they get a negative. Or any other time, say they just hop on the ice, and as soon as they hop on the ice, a goal is scored, things like that. And the same thing's vice versa, because there's just a lot of scenarios where the player does nothing wrong or doesn't contribute in any way, and either gets a plus or a minus. So that's my problem with it. I know that there is importance to it, because obviously the player could be contributing in the play, and say doesn't get an assist or any type of point, but gets the plus minus to show that they still were contributing in, say, a pass play that leads to a goal. So it's things like that. There are positives and negatives to it with the plus minus. But overall, I just want to get that out there right away, so it doesn't make it look like I'm favoring guys just because they have a strong plus minus or anything like that. But Ryan Graves does lead the league currently with a plus minus of plus 22, which is fantastic. Obviously, it helps being on the highest scoring NHL team currently, the Colorado Avalanche, but Ryan Graves has really come out of nowhere. He is in the second season of his career. I've talked about him previously somewhat. He was drafted in the 4th round in 2013 by the New York Rangers, and he's one of two players that are currently with other teams that were first picked up by the Rangers, and Graves is one of them. I had the chance of seeing him play down when he was with the Hartford Wolfpack multiple times, and he always looked solid for them, and he looked like a somewhat promising young, more stay-at-home defenseman. And then he was traded off, like I've talked about in a previous video regarding the Avalanche, for Chris Bygras last season, I believe, or maybe the season before, and things just went polar opposites. Bygras hasn't stayed with the Rangers system. He's now with the Phantoms for the Flyers system, and Graves has just come out of nowhere. That has been fantastic for them. Has been on their top pair defensively many times. Is in the top two lines regardless. Has contributed offensively too. He has 5 goals and 8 assists for 13 points in 33 games, and he has just been fantastic. He's a big, hard-nosed defenseman that will get in your face and everything, but overall his two-way game is looking really strong and is quite the diamond in the rough for a Colorado Avalanche team that already has so many weapons offensively and defensively with their young talent. And he's 24, so he's another one of those defensemen who really didn't come out of the gate fantastic. He had to work his way up, but he's truly showing just how much there is there with him, which is coming as a surprise to a lot of people, including myself. So, after Ryan Graves, I have Mackenzie Weger for the Florida Panthers. Now, Weger's been in the league for 4 seasons now. He's 25 years old, and he was drafted in the 7th round in 2013. Weger has been a huge part of this Florida defense and really hasn't been that much of a negative. He's had his flaws at times defensively, but overall, I don't think that his game is necessarily lagging in any means. And he's another one that is on pace to have a career year. This season, especially in 25 games played, because he's had some injuries, he has 3 goals and 9 assists for 12 points and has a 0 plus-minus. So just even. And that makes sense because Florida has been struggling defensively and goaltending earlier in the season. That was a big one. So that all can contribute into his plus-minus being the way it is. But overall, from the games I've watched with the Panthers, which has been many this season, Weger has looked very strong at times. At times he's been streaky, but overall I feel that he's a defenseman, a young defenseman, like 25 and under, who has really had a strong season thus far and isn't gaining the recognition I think he deserves, along with the rest of the players on this list I'll be talking about. But I like a lot of things about Weger's game. He contributes offensively, which is always great to see. Isn't necessarily great for this Florida team that needs more defensive defensemen than offensive, but overall, Weger is a strong skater too. I like his passing as well. There's just a lot of aspects I do enjoy about his game. Nothing overly flashy or anything like that, but he is on pace to have a career year by far this season, and we'll see. Who knows? He might get upwards of 40 points this season if he keeps it up, and he's continued to get more and more playing time as this season has gone along. So, Weger was my pick for Florida. Then after Florida, I have Winnipeg Jets, and my pick is Neil Pionk. Pionk is really making me eat my words. If you don't know, Neil Pionk was part of a trade with the New York Rangers last season that sent Jacob Trouba coming in the New York Rangers, and then Neil Pionk went the other way, Winnipeg, and he's on a very team-friendly deal, which Jacob Trouba is not, and Pionk is a 24-year-old defenseman who was in the 3rd season of his NHL career, and he was undrafted. He was assigned undrafted free agent by the Rangers in 2017, and he was very frustrating to say the least, especially last season. Being a Rangers fan, watching him, he would be very flashy at times, would contribute offensively, but he was always given a lot of minutes each and every game, and that was because there really wasn't many other guys on the Rangers defense that seemed deserving last season especially, but Pionk definitely struggled. His underlying numbers were not great, to say the least. But overall, since he's been with Winnipeg, he has been doing fantastic. He has 3 goals, 17 assists for 20 points in 34 games. And I think a big thing, too, that needs to be recognized, and this is where plus-minus is somewhat important in my opinion, is he's a +7. This Winnipeg team went into the season losing the majority of their defense, especially that whole right side. And Pionk comes in, is thrown on their top line with Morrissey among other defensemen, and has thrived with them, has been absolutely fantastic. Obviously, he's had some woes defensively, but his game is looking much stronger than what it did with the Rangers, and I understand that the Jets have a deeper team offensively than the team that he was with the Rangers in his first 2 seasons in the NHL. But overall, Pionk has been really eye-opening, has been their power play quarterback, and has been doing a lot of great things, and has been a huge part of the Jets' success and not falling over completely on defense. And their goaltending has been doing well enough to keep them relevant and in the hunt to make the playoffs. So I'm somewhat baffled by how well he's been doing. It makes sense given the amount of playing time that he's continuing to get, but it just goes to show that I'm not a Lindy Ruff fan at all. If you don't know, he's the one of the assistant coaches for the Rangers, and he runs the defense, and he has been, in my mind, terrible since being first signing with the team a couple seasons ago. And I think Neil Pionk is a perfect example of a defenseman who just really wasn't doing a whole lot because of the system he was under, and now he's thriving with the Jets team and a new coaching staff. So very happy for him and his success, and I hope it continues. But Neil Pionk has definitely been an eye-opening defenseman, smooth skater too, great passer, and can shoot it plenty of times. He loves getting the shot on net. So a lot of great things for Jets fans to follow, and hopefully this continues. So Neil Pionk is my pick. Then after him comes the LA Kings, which might be surprising because of how abysmal they've been defensively. But lately they've been doing pretty well, especially the past 10 games. Sean Walker, I've watched this guy numerous times this season, watching Kings games when I can. And Walker has been very, very underrated. He's a 25-year-old defenseman in his second season. He signed with LA as an undrafted free agent as well in 2018. And in 36 games played, he has 4 goals, 10 assists for 14 points. And he's +6 in the plus-minus column. Walker has been very solid. He started off the season kind of red hot in regards to point production. Then he slowed down a bit, but he's been on and off. But overall, his overall game has not been bad by any means. His underlying numbers haven't been fantastic, that's for sure. But overall, he has been very solid for this Kings team, who has a lot of nobodies on this roster, offensively and defensively. And he is truly coming into his own and has been a strong force in this Kings defense in their top 2 lines. So that is really surprising, but great to see when it comes to Sean. He's contributed offensively too. He gets shots on net as well. And another one of those that is kind of flashy with some of the goals that he's had this season. Really nice shots. He will set you up, and I feel like this is only the beginning for Sean and the Kings. I feel that he's another that has a diamond in the rough that really came out of nowhere, and the Kings are just benefiting by all means, given how great his play has been up to date. And even though the Kings are essentially going into a rebuild, as they should, Walker can be a part of this rebuild and possibly their future, given the fact that he is still relatively young, being only 25. But Sean, like I said, has stood out to me, been a very solid two-way defenseman this season that I almost never hear anyone talking about. So that's my pick for LA. Then another pick on a abysmal team, the Detroit Red Wings, and mine is Filip Hronek. Hronek was the only player that I chose that, 1, has a terrible plus-minus, and 2, was drafted in the second round. Now, the reason why I did this was Hronek's 22 years old. He's in his second season. Like I said, he was drafted in the second round in 2016. But in 34 games played, he has 7 goals, 12 assists, 19 points, and has a -14. Put that -14 aside. Detroit hasn't had goaltending all season. They are the worst team in the league defensively. That all makes sense. I'm not going to put all the blame for that plus-minus on him. Not by any means. Hronek has been fantastic. This is coming from someone who isn't a Red Wings fan, who's watched not every game, obviously, but from the eye test and some of the highlights I've seen with him, because I also watch highlights of every single NHL game every night, especially the ones I missed. And he has been huge for them. He has contributed on special teams, especially on the power play. He has a very strong shot, and he has been setting up guys like the Larkins and the Manthas and the Bertuzzis, etc., and Robbie Fabry, who's been a fantastic addition, but that's a conversation for another day. Really has been strong for them, and I really hope that Hronek is part of this rebuild, falling through, and is with them way after it, because this is only the beginning for him. Like I said, he's another one of those that is already having a better season than he had his rookie year, and he's only going to continue to get better. I really like a lot of aspects about his game, and he is one of these players on the Detroit Red Wings that I see as a crucial piece into their core going forward. So, Hronek, I'm really impressed with his game. Pushing his plus-minus aside, I don't put that on him by any means. I've been very delighted to see the type of play that he's had, and he's another one of those players that I did not know much of going into this NHL season, so it's been pleasantly surprising. So, Hronek is my pick for Detroit. Then coming up with my sixth pick is Devin Tase, or Devin Tase, from the New York Islanders. He was drafted in the 4th round in 2014. He's in his second season. He's 25 years old as well. In 32 games, he has 3 goals, 10 assists for 13 points, and he has plus-minus at +5. I could have picked multiple players on this Islanders team, but Tase has stood out to me in multiple ways. And from the games that I've watched with the Islanders, especially this year, he has been fantastic. And I mean that wholeheartedly as a Rangers fan. One of those guys that is by no means flashy in what he does, but he looks like a very solid two-way defenseman that is very difficult to get around and can contribute offensively as well. Helps on the special teams. He really does it all, and he eats the minutes every single night. He averages around between 18 and 20 minutes, I believe, as do most of the players on the list, but with good reasoning. He has really gained the trust from Barry Trotz since he came in the league, and that's great to see. But this Islanders core group, defensively, they have so many young defensemen, more than I really even was thinking about going into this season. But along with Pelech and Pollock, they have all been solid, but Tase has really stood out to me. He's been a huge part of their success with being one of the best defensive teams in the league. And I really can't say enough good things about him. Very impressed with his game, and he is going to be a crucial part in this Islanders team now and in the future in making the playoffs and having any type of deep run. They need guys like him to continue to step up and improve their game, and it's great because he's only one of many defensemen on this team that are young and promising. They have a good balance of not rookies, but kind of established young defensemen and veterans that have been there before. So that is my pick for the New York Islanders. So coming in with pick 7 is Philippe Myers. Philippe is 22 years old. In 18 games he's played this year, he has 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points, is a +14. That is really good. Second season in the league this year, and he signed as an undrafted free agent in 2015 with the Flyers. I watched Myers play multiple times last season with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and when I did, he always stood out to me. Another tall, strong guy, 6'5", I think around 210, beast, and he's fast. He's not slow by any means. From everything that I've seen, he's just another smooth skater, really great in his own zone, and will get shots on that for the forwards as well. And he came out of nowhere this season. Him along with some other players on this Flyers defense, Travis Sanheim comes to mind as well, have really stood out for them. Really surprised me. I thought the Flyers would be atrocious defensively going into the season, and they are proving me wrong night in and night out. They've been on a little bit of a skid lately, but I think that's also in part with Oscar Lindblom being diagnosed with cancer. So that's a discussion for another day too. That's terrible news, but I hope the best for him. But besides what's been happening lately emotionally with this Flyers team, Myers has been really strong for them, has gained the trust of their head coach, Alain Vigneault, pretty quickly. And night in and night out, he is just impressing me more and more. Flyers have to be thrilled with what he's been doing. Another diamond in the rough type of player, which was desperately needed for this defense, considering they don't really have any standouts. Shane Gostisbehere has been pretty inconsistent the past couple seasons. Ivan Provorov has been very solid offensively, but his defensive game still needs plenty of improvement. The good thing is that, like Myers too, Provorov is very young, even younger than him, but Myers has been very surprising, without question, and has been a crucial part into this Flyers' success defensively, holding their own and helping guys like Carter Hart and net, who obviously needs help at times given just how young he is, and hasn't established himself yet to be. He's established himself as the number one, but you can tell that the inconsistency is still there, and the Flyers are not trying to rush him, so having a strong defense is only going to benefit him and this Flyers team. So Philippe Myers is my pick, and he's probably the most surprising defenseman that I have on this list, in my opinion. So coming in at number 8, I have John Marino. He's 22 years old for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He is in his first season. He's a rookie, and he was drafted in the 6th round in 2015 by the Edmonton Oilers. Wow, do the Oilers frustrate me. Oilers being my Western Conference team, they have let go numerous solid defensemen over the years. Marino is another one, another diamond in the rough, and you can only give credit to the Pittsburgh Penguins for finding guys like Marino and just knowing the potential there. And it is showing. Justin Schultz comes to mind too as another guy who Edmonton let slip away. But Marino stepped in this season with the injuries of Chris Letang and Justin Schultz at different times and has been light out. I've watched many Pens games this season, and I've been unbelievably impressed. I was just talking to a buddy of mine the other day who's a Penguins fan, and he was just telling me how good Marino is, and I was agreeing with him on that, and how it could also cause some controversy with Justin Schultz, how he's going to be due for a new contract, and looks like Schultz might be on his way out with the fact of how well Marino's been playing on the right side. So that's very interesting to see. That's a topic for another day as well in regards to possible trade scenarios, etc. But things to consider. But overall, Marino really impresses me a lot. He in 32 games played this year has 4 goals, 11 assists, 15 points. He's a plus 12, very strong. This Pittsburgh team is just baffling me. I do not understand how they have been playing as well as they do, but I'm not surprised. And like I've said in previous videos talking about this Penguins team, Mike Sullivan is easily one of the best coaches in the league, and every player that gets called up into this Pittsburgh team, they buy into what Sullivan is selling, and he has a great system for all their players, and Marino is another product of that. Has been contributing offensively, has been blocking shots like crazy for them, doing all the little things to bring them success and help them win night in and night out, and that's the reason why Pittsburgh is in a firm, comfortable spot in the playoffs currently, with having all their top players hurt at different times this season. So Marino is my pick for Pittsburgh. I'm really interested to see what his future holds. I think this is only the beginning for him in Pittsburgh, and I won't be surprised if he ends up being with Pittsburgh long term, as long as he continues to progress the way he has this rookie season. So coming in at pick number 9, my favorite player on the list for biased reasons, Adam Fox. Adam Fox is 21 years old. He was drafted in the 3rd round in 2016 by the Calgary Flames. If you don't know Adam Fox was drafted by Calgary, decided that he was going to stay in Harvard because he was playing for Harvard of the NCAA, and was not going to play with Calgary. There were rumors that he was only going to play for the New York Rangers, considering he grew up on Long Island, a diehard New York Rangers fan. And then what happened was his rights were traded to the Carolina Hurricanes just for him to say the exact same thing, as much as Carolina tried to get him to sign his entry-level contracts with them. It wasn't happening, so then they traded him over to the New York Rangers this past offseason, and he has been amazing. One of the smoothest skaters I've seen, especially the Rangers have had on defense in my whole lifetime. He looks unbelievably poised out there. His hockey IQ is just a step ahead of a lot of guys his age, and I think he's a perfect product of many young NHL defensemen that have come from college hockey, where they just seem to be more well put together and ready for the NHL versus coming out of junior. And obviously other guys to talk about would be like Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar, but the reason why I have Fox on this list is because I feel that he was very slept on. It was easy to forget about him given the fact that he was never a top pick in the draft when he was drafted, was in the NCAA for for 3 seasons, not 1. And a lot of people turn their backs on him, especially the fact of him being biased and only wanting to play for the Rangers. So obviously, if you're not a Rangers fan and if you're a Carolina and Calgary fan, you could dislike him, and I don't blame you one bit. I would be the same exact way. But there is still no denying how great of a season he's had thus far. In 33 games played, he has 5 goals, 12 assists for 17 points, and he has a +3 in the plus-minus column. I cannot say enough good things about him. He makes me so happy for the Rangers' future, especially on defense. He looks like he's going to be the future for them, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon, and I don't want him to. I feel that Adam needs to be getting talked about more. And like I've said prior, if Cale Makar was not a rookie, I feel that Adam Fox would be getting a lot more consideration for the Calder. So, for obvious reasons. But overall, Adam Fox is my pick for the New York Rangers. And wow, am I excited to see what the future holds for him. So, and to conclude this video is probably ridiculously long, and I apologize for that. But it's really hard trying to cram this all in at once when I could talk a very long time about each and every player that I'm discussing in these videos. But to finish it off, I have Carson Susi. Who's Carson Susi? I didn't know going into this season, but now I know. He's a 25-year-old defenseman. He's in his 2nd season with the Minnesota Wild, and he was drafted in the 5th round in 2013. 32 games played. He has 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 points, a +15 on a Minnesota team that was god-awful to start the season. But the past 15, 20 games, I'd probably say 15, they have really picked up the pace. They went on a decent point streak, and they have been doing this all without Devin Dubnyk, who I've talked about in previous videos, has been on a leave of absence given, I believe his wife has an illness. So hoping that things only get better for him and he could be back on the ice as soon as possible. But Carson Susi came out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Never heard of this guy before, like I said. Another one of those players that really worked himself up to make it to the team. He gets as much ice time as any defenseman in the NHL. He's getting a lot of minutes a night, easily 20 and over. And he has been fantastic for this Minnesota team that really is finicky in regards to their lineup. They have really young forwards or really old ones. There really isn't an in-between. But Susi has been a stronghold on their defense, has been contributing offensively, pinches up in the play. I've seen a couple goals he's had this season too. Some nice shots. And yeah, I really can't say enough good things. Very impressed with him. Another diamond in the rough type of defenseman and overall player in the NHL. So really happy to see him doing well, and I hope it continues, because if Minnesota can continue to have a strong defense going forward, especially assuming Ryan Suter will decline at some point. I know he has already, but overall he's just been a stronghold on defense his whole career and will get you like 25, 30 minutes a night. But that's besides the point. Carson Susi, very impressive. He's my pick for Minnesota. So that is going to conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have anything to comment, please do. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Obviously, this video might never blow up, or maybe it will at some point. So if it does, it'll be interesting to look back to see how these players have done since I made this video. But thank you all so much, and I will be back hopefully in a couple days. And this video might not get out in time for some games I play tonight, so stats may change by the time I get this video out, but shouldn't be anything major. So once again, thank you all so much for watching, and make sure to come back for more NHL content. All right, bye.